The motivations and activities of extraterrestrial races. Introduction. On February 20, 1954, a delegation of human-looking extraterrestrial races met with the Eisenhower administration in an unsuccessful effort to reach an agreement on the U.S.'s thermonuclear nuclear weapons program. The apparent stumbling block was that these extraterrestrial races were not willing to provide technology that might be used by the military-industrial interests that dominated the Eisenhower administration and set the tone for subsequent extraterrestrial, human dialogue. The principled opposition of this group of extraterrestrials to being co-opted into an emerging military-industrial extraterrestrial complex marks an important indicator of a large grouping of human extraterrestrial races who lie outside of the web of interlocking interests that make up the MEC in the United States and elsewhere on the planet. This second group of extraterrestrials is primarily human and can easily integrate with human society in the manner described by Dean and others where they can be indistinguishable from the rest of humanity. These races are described to be from star systems such as Lyran, Pleiades, Sirius, Procyon, Ceti, Ummite, Andromeda and Arcturus, who have provided some of the genetic material for the seeding of humanity on Earth. According to Alex Collier, a total of 22 extraterrestrial races have provided genetic material for the human experiment. These include reptilian, Grey and Anunnaki races described earlier as well as those races in this second group which Collier describes as benevolent. That we, as a product of extraterrestrial genetic manipulation, are possessors of a vast gene pool consisting of many different racial memory banks, also consisting of at least 22 different races. Because of our genetic heritage, and because we are spirit, the benevolent extraterrestrial races actually view us as being royalty. As a result of this genetic linkage, the extraterrestrials in this group outside of the MEC apparently view humanity in much the way a protective parent might view an adolescent son/daughter in a dangerous environment. The vital interests of races in this category are to ensure that global humanity evolves in a responsible way without endangering both itself and the greater galactic community of which it is part. There are two parts to this grouping of extraterrestrials. The first are extraterrestrials that have historically inhabited the Earth's subterranean dwellings, and are described as remnants of ancient human civilization that followed a separate evolutionary path to surface humanity. The second are extraterrestrials that have off-world origins but have humanoid features to the extent that some of them can easily intermingle with the rest of humanity without being easily identified. Telosians. The subterranean extraterrestrials are described to be remnants of previous human civilizations on the Earth's surface such as Lemuria and Atlantis, and are thus genetically related to humanity. The most famous description of one of these ancient races is found in the posthumously published Diaries of Admiral Richard Byrd, who describes a secret expedition to the North Pole where he was taken into the subterranean dwelling of an advanced race with Nordic physical characteristics. He was shown some of the wondrous technology of this society and also met the leader of this advanced subterranean race who allegedly said, "We have let you enter here because you are of noble character and well known on the surface world, Admiral. You are in the domain of the Ariani, the inner world of the Earth. Admiral, I shall tell you why you have been summoned here. Our interest rightly begins just after your race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was at that alarming time we sent our flying machines, the Fluid Raids, to your surface world to investigate what your race had done. You see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars and barbarity, but now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for men, namely, that of atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the powers of your world, and yet they do not heed. Now you have been chosen to be witness here that our world does exist. You see, our culture and science is many thousands of years beyond your race, Admiral. While there continues to be controversy over the veracity of Admiral Byrd's diaries, there are a number of reported encounters with representatives of an advanced subterranean human race. A large subterranean city called Telos is argued to lie below Mount Shasta, California, and has been described by individuals who have either physically traveled to this city and witnessed it, or those who claim to have telepathically communicated with the occupants of this city. Prominent UFO researcher, William Hamilton, claims to have met representatives of Telos who described to him the advanced technology and structure of Telos and their connection to the former civilization of Lemuria. Hamilton described the Telosian, Bonnie, and her family as follows: Bonnie, her mother Ranamu, her father Ramu, her sister Judy, her cousins Lori and Matox, live and move in our society, returning frequently to Telos for rest and recuperation. Bonnie relates that her people use boring machines to bore tunnels in the earth. These boring machines heat the rock to incandescence, and then vitrify it, thus eliminating the need for beams and supports. A tube transit tunnel is used to connect the cities that exist in various subterranean regions in our hemisphere. The tube trains are propelled by electromagnetic impulses up to speeds of 2,500 miles per hour. One tube connects with one of their cities in the Mato Grosso jungle of Brazil. They grow food hydroponically under full-spectrum lighting with their gardens attended by automatons. The food and resources of Telos are distributed in plenty to the 1.5 million population that thrives on an Ummite economy. According to the Diane Robbins, who claims to have telepathically communicated with the Telosians, they are the remnants of the ancient Lemuria who made Mount Shasta their home after the destruction of their continent. Originally numbering 15,000, this Lemurian remnant has apparently flourished in the underground caverns of Mount Shasta and grown to a population of 1.5 million, where psychotronic technologies, involving crystals and the highly developed mental abilities of the Telosians, are used to maintain an incredibly advanced society that interacts with extraterrestrials from a number of star systems. The Telosians are reported to specialize in maintaining human longevity, and integrating harmonious technologies and belief systems for surface-based humans. The Telosians and other subterranean extraterrestrials seek to curtail the most damaging aspects of human extraterrestrial technological agreements while assisting in the evolutionary growth in human consciousness. The main activities of the Telosians can be inferred to being helping surface humanity learn of its ancient Earth history, restore human longevity, changing unhealthy belief systems, protecting the environment. The global solutions provided by the Telosians include environmental protection, promoting biodiversity, restoring human health and longevity, recovery of lost historical knowledge. The off-world human-looking extraterrestrial have been claimed to have provided some of the genetic material for human evolution, and that many of these extraterrestrials have allowed some of their personnel to incarnate as starseeds on Earth in human families. These starseeds, star children or star people, are described by Brad and Francie Steiger as individuals whose souls were formerly incarnated on the worlds of other star systems and then traveled to Earth and decided to incarnate here in order to boost the evolutionary development of humanity. Most of humanity would consider this group of extraterrestrials to be benevolent, as described by contactees such as George Adamski, Orfeo Angelucci, George Van Tassel, Howard Menger, Paul Villa, Billy Meyer and Alex Collier, who each explained the nature of their voluntary interactions with these human-looking extraterrestrials. These contactees often provide physical evidence in the form of photographs, film and/or witnesses of their contacts with extraterrestrial races. The most extensively documented and researched contactee is Edward Billy Meyer, who provided much physical evidence for investigators. These off-world human extraterrestrial races appear to have different specialties as a result of unique histories and planetary migrations due to galactic upheavals and conflicts. It is worth exploring the main activities of each race to understand how they either currently interact with humanity or how they may better interact with humanity to address global problems. Lyrans. It is appropriate to begin the discussion of these off-world extraterrestrial races and their main activities by focusing on a star system that has been described as the source for the spread of human civilization in the Milky Way galaxy, the constellation of Lyra. One of the first contactees to describe Lyra was Billy Meyer, who received much public attention as a result of his alleged visits from Pleiadian/Pleiadians from 1975 to 1986, which he supported with material evidence that continues to confound those skeptical of Meyer's claims. Comprehensive investigations by a number of individuals and organizations found that Meyer's evidence was not fabricated and therefore constituted significant support for his testimony of extraterrestrial contact. Due to the amount of physical evidence he had provided over the years, Meyer has gained great credibility, and the consistency and coherence of his testimonies suggest that he is indeed an important spokesperson for an extraterrestrial race. Meyer was told by his Pleiadians, contacts of the star system of Lyra and its human inhabitants. The Swiss Pleiadians have described their ancient ancestry, and consequently ours, as originating before the Pleiades and a far sun system in a star group near what we now know as the Ring Nebula of Lyra, for which we have called them Lyrians in the same manner as we refer to the human beings from what we call the Pleiades. These early Lyrians in their numerous migrations and their great space arcs went to many other star systems and found suitable habitations, and put down colonies, such of which flourished and eventually launched their own space travelers. Meyer further reported of a physical contact with a Lyran ship in 1977, where the Lyrans described their world and the other star systems with whom they cooperated. Alex Collier describes the start of the Lyran civilization as revealed to him by extraterrestrials from Andromeda. Based on the age of the suns and the planets in our galaxy, it was decided that the human life form was to be created in the Lyran system. The human race lived there for approximately 40 million years, evolving. The orientation of the human race in Lyra was agricultural in nature. Apparently, we were very plentiful and abundant, and lived in peace. The Lyrans possess Nordic features and are quite possibly the Elohim described in religious traditions both on Earth and around the galaxy. Due to the Lyrans' role in the genesis of the human presence in the galaxy, the Lyrans can understandably be argued to have the most detailed understanding of human origins and galactic history. They can be described as the galactic historians for the human species. It can be inferred that the Lyrans help in disseminating the truth about the evolution of human races in the galaxy, and have a deep understanding of galactic human culture and of the human spire. The Lyrans have been further described as follows: those from Lyra have an affinity for origins and ancient histories. So they would be useful to you to understand the past in order to transform it. As you understand your past and your origins, you may be able in consciousness to go back, pattern by pattern, peel off the layers of the onion, and find your true nature. They would be excellent guides in this process, this psychological process for humanity, of understanding its motivations and its history and how it came to be. In conclusion, the Lyrans' main activities are disseminating the unique history of the human race in the galaxy, assisting in understanding human motivations and potentials. The global solutions the Lyrans provide include accurate information about human history, understanding galactic history, discovery of the human essence, diplomacy and conflict resolution, global education. Pleiadians. Billy Meyer further described how the Pleiadians, descendants of the Lyrans, had migrated between a number of star systems before finally settling in the Pleiades constellation. The ancient history of the early Pleiadian ancestors in another home sun system was also described, and how they came to travel to the Pleiades. A much earlier migration to this solar system is also described, and how and why it failed. The on-third survivors of the Pleiadian ancestors' original planet, after its devastation, evolved a new technology, and designed and built the great spacer evacuation arcs in just 900 years, and began to launch them everywhere for many hundreds of years more. The extraterrestrials visiting Switzerland are the descendants of one of those space arcs, which occupied one of the 3 planets engineered for human habitation, in one of the sun systems in what we call the Pleiades today. They have experienced great gains and great losses many times over since that time. In a very real sense, we are descendants of their earliest colonists attempting to settle in this solar system, together with an assortment of aborigines and human exiles from a number of places. The particular star system from which Meyer's Pleiadians originate is Tegeta, and the main planet is Era. The Pleiadians from Tegeta identified Meyer as one of their chosen representatives, with a mission to bring the truth of the extraterrestrial presence to humanity. Semias, the Pleiadian female who made contact with Meyer, described the Pleiadians as follows: "We are neither guardians of Earth beings nor God-sent angels or similar. Many persons suggest we are watching over Earth and her beings and would control their fates. This is not true, because we only perform a self-selected mission which has nothing to do with supervising or regulating Earth fates. Thus it is wrong to expose us as superterrestrial messengers and guardians." The Pleiadians identified a key aspect of their mission as to warn humanity of the Greys, which they described as follows: 33. There are also different life forms that have acquired much knowledge and have freed themselves from their environment. They travel through space and occasionally come to Earth. 34. Many of them are rather unpleasant creatures and live in a type of barbarism that frequently is nearly as bad as the terrestrials. 35. You should be aware of them because they often attack and destroy everything that gets in their way. 36. Many times they have even destroyed whole planets or forced their inhabitants into bondage. 37. It is one of our missions to warn the people on Earth of these creatures. 38. Let this be known to the Earth people because the time is approaching when a conflict with these degenerate human creatures, Greys, becomes unavoidable. According to Collier, the Greys and Pleiadians are involved in armed skirmishes in the solar system and other systems such as Sirius B. Other key aspects of the Pleiadian mission, according to Meyer, are to assist in the uplift of human consciousness and to promote the unity of religion. Significantly, the Pleiadians were dismissive of the claims of many other contactees such as Adamski, and thereby implied some exclusivity in relating the truths and dynamics of the extraterrestrial presence. Interestingly, Collier claimed that some Pleiadians groups such as those from Alcyone operate with hidden agent Ace, while those from Tegeta, for example, Myers Pleiadians, are described as genuinely assisting humanity. Despite the possible hidden agenda of some Pleiadians, most testimony and evidence points to Pleiadians in general having positive interactions with humans, and that they do much to assist in the elevation of human consciousness and assisting humanity in finding freedom from gray/reptilian influence. In conclusion, the main activity of the Pleiadians appears to be helping humanity find freedom from oppressive structures through education and consciousness raising. The Pleiadians can assist and find global solutions such as universal human rights, participatory democratic systems, the evolution of human consciousness, global education. Nordic Rigelians. One of the many human space colonies spawned by the Lyrans was eventually established on planets in the Rigel solar system in the Orion constellation. At some point in its history, Rigel with its Nordic population presumably underwent a destructive civil war and was taken over by Greys. According to George Andrews, a Nordic from the star system of Procyon, Kyla, revealed much information about the Rigelians, Procyons and Greys to a human contactee whose information was consistent with other sources and Andrews concluded was credible. The contactee described Kyla as follows. Kyla looked like a tall handsome human, slender but muscular, masculine yet ethereal. He appeared either naturally or artificially to have black around his eyes, almost like coal. His face was close to exquisite, but definitely masculine. He had a gaunt face with high cheekbones and piercing cobalt blue eyes. He had fine blonde hair that was almost shoulder length. He had a muscular neck. His skin was pale flesh color, with a whitish overtone. It is hard to gauge his exact height because of the circumstances under which our encounter occurred, but it was somewhere between 6 and 7 feet. Andrews writes about the history of Rigel as revealed by Kyla to the contactee. The ancestors of the short Greys were once tall blondes. The Great War took place. Before the Great War, Rigel was a vast empire, which had been the source of most galactic seeding. All Rigelians were tall blondes. A colony had already been established on Procyon. The Great War was a civil war of Rigelians versus Rigelians, and lasted the equivalent of 3 Earth centuries. A group of Rigelians who realized that the Great War was about to break out took off for the Procyon colony in crude, clandestinely built ships. They were the only Rigelians to escape the cataclysmic devastation. All those who had remained on Rigel were transformed into short Greys. It appears that Rigel underwent a planet-wide nuclear war and environmental collapse that led to life in underground shelters. It is very unlikely that the transformation of Nordic Rigelians involved them becoming short Greys, whose genetic material is generally accepted as inferior to human races such as the Nordics. The genetic mutation process would have taken much longer than the 3 centuries mentioned. It is more likely that the surviving Rigelian Nordics were incorporated into a planet-wide genetic hybridization program by short Greys from a star system such as Zeta Reticulum, who had covertly infiltrated and undermined Rigel prior to and during the Great War on Rigel. The short Greys most likely succeeded in genetically engineering the Tall Greys using genetic material from the Nordic survivors who were too weak to resist the Grey hybridization agenda. These Rigelian Tall Greys subsequently play a key role in diplomatic initiatives by the Greys and serving as a genetic model for new human-Grey hybrid races that allegedly represent the best of both species. Procyons. Most of the Rigelians who fled their planet traveled to the star system of Procyon to restart their civilization. Procyon is a binary star system about 11.4 light-years from Earth, and it was apparently the 4th planet in this system that the Rigelians established their new colony. According to Andrews, the colony of Procyon flourished until it became embroiled in sinister effort by the Greys that now populated Rigel to subvert Procyon. Kyla described the process adopted by the Greys in their subversion of Procyon. The Greys began to visit us, first a few as ambassadors, then as specialists in various domains where their expertise could be useful to us, as participants in different programs that involved mutual collaboration, and finally as tourists. What had begun as a trickle became a flood, as they came in ever-increasing numbers, slowly but surely infiltrating our society at all levels, penetrating even the most secret of our elite power groups. Just as on your planet they began by unobtrusively gaining control over key members of the CIA and KGB through techniques unknown to them, such as telepathic hypnosis that manipulates the reptilian levels of the brain, so on Procyon through the same techniques. They established a kind of telepathic hypnotic control over our leaders. Over our leaders and over almost all of us, because it was as if we were under a spell that was leading us to our doom, as if we were being programmed by a type of ritual black magic that we did not realize existed. Kylo went on to describe the eventual takeover of Procyon by the Greys and the enslavement of most Procyons that did not escape. Using advanced time travel technology which involved multi-dimensional consciousness, something which the Greys apparently could not duplicate due to their degraded genetic bodies, a significant number of Procyons were able to escape and began a liberation war from the remote corridors of time. Significantly, the Procyons describe how some of their resistance techniques would be relevant to the situation on Earth. It would be suicidal to attempt to fight the Greys directly with the weapons now at your disposal. One must be rational in attempting to fight back, and understand the proper way to proceed. Your own consciousness is the most potent weapon that is available to you at the present time. The most effective way to fight the Greys is to change the level of your consciousness from linear thinking to multidimensional awareness. They have the technology to throw your planet out of orbit, but there is one key ability that you have and they do not have, the ability to hold in mind imagery that inspires an individual to realize his or her direct personal connection to the source of all that is. That is your key to victory. According to Alex Collier, the Procyons have recently liberated their world from Grey influence, and he describes the Procyons as currently gung-ho when it comes to dealing with the Greys. In conclusion, the Procyons' main activity is, ineffectively resisting the extraterrestrial subversion by developing a multidimensional consciousness using mind imagery to protect oneself from extraterrestrial mind control, monitoring unfriendly extraterrestrial activity. The global solutions that the Procyons can assist in include, exposing extraterrestrial subversion, helping end global secrecy of the extraterrestrial presence, promoting multidimensional consciousness, deprogramming mind control, promoting universal human rights, developing the Internet and global communication. Tau sessions. Other human-populated worlds are apparently the star systems of Tau Ceti and Epsilon Arduni. The researcher, Frank Crawford, interviewed a number of individuals who had physical contact with the Tau sessions. The first and most significant was an alleged whistleblower who participated in crash retrievals of UFOs. A live occupant was captured and interrogated by the United States national security officials from a crash near Phoenix, Arizona in 1961. Oscar, the pseudonym used by the whistleblower, described to Frank Crawford the origins of the captured extraterrestrial who was nicknamed Hank. It was later confirmed by Hank that the stars of origin of his people were Tau Ceti and Epsilon Arduni. In later sessions Oscar discussed some reasons for the presence of the aliens. He said the "why" do not like the situation with some of the small gray aliens. He corrected us when we used the term gray and said that they are actually white. The Tau sessions feel that the abductions being carried out by some of the Greys are a great injustice to humanity. They are a parasitic race that has and is preying on human civilizations throughout the universe, Oscar relayed. He added that our government's involvement with the Greys is very dangerous and out of control. The Tau sessions have been preyed upon by these aliens before and they are working with other races and communities that were also victims. Oscar wants people to know that if they are contacted by the Tau sessions, humans such as he described, to not be afraid because they are here to help. The revelations by Hank suggest that the Tau sessions are present to help deal with the covert strategies and activities of the Greys. They in particular are very concerned about the nature of the agreements reached with them by the United States shadow government, and in helping individual abductees. According to Oscar, the Tau session, Hank, was tortured and that this nearly caused an incident with other Tau sessions who wanted to militarily intervene on behalf of their captured colleague. The events described by Oscar are consistent with the main activity of the Tau sessions as described in the following telepathic communication. One of the races is from Tau Ceti. They are specialists in intrigue and determining motivations of cloaked societies. They understand the ways that subterfuge can cripple a system. So they would be excellent contacts for undercover work. The second individual who had physical contact with Tau sessions was an abductee, Jill Walport, who described to Frank Crawford how she had been contacted by two sets of extraterrestrials, the Greys and a human-looking race that attempted to help her in dealing with the Greys. Jill informed me that the aliens told her they didn't like what some of the aliens were doing to her without her consent. They had come to help her learn how to overcome the deceptions of the Greys and to protect herself. They explained that she needed to psychically build a shield around herself, like a brick wall, when they came for her. This would help keep her from being deceived by their mind tricks. She tried it the next time the Greys came over and it seemed to work. Crawford then revealed how Jill described the origins of the benevolent extraterrestrials as Tau sessions. At this point the correlation counter in my mind was working overtime, so I decided to go for gold and ask her if they told her where they were from. Believe it or not, she replied, Tau Ceti, does that make any sense? Later I mentioned to Oscar that I was investigating a case that involved intense interaction with Greys and Tau sessions showing up to help. He asked where the case was from and I told him near Springfield, Illinois. He rattled off a very accurate description of Jill and said he was aware that she had been contacted. In conclusion, the Tau sessions' main activities lies in raising awareness of how to deal with the subversion of societies by extraterrestrial races, identifying corrupt elites and institutions, uplifting human consciousness, developing strategies for negating advanced mind control techniques. The global solutions they can assist in include exposing government/financial corruption and elite manipulation, monitoring extraterrestrial infiltration, deprogramming mind control and implant removal, promoting multidimensional consciousness, diplomacy and conflict resolution. Andromedans. Those ETs from Andromeda are also described by Alex Collier as having been direct descendants of the Lyrans, who experienced some difficulty when first leaving the Lyran system due to predatory extraterrestrial races, but eventually settled in the Andromeda constellation in the star system, Ceti. Collier describes the nature of the Andromedans as follows: everything that they create technologically is used for the advancement of their race. It is for educational purposes only. But it can be used in defense. No, they do not have a military, per se. They are scientists. What they do is send their children to school anywhere from 150 to 200 years, in our linear time. They teach their students all of the arts and sciences. They are literally masters at everything. Then, at that point, they have the choice in what it is they want to do, and they can change their minds anytime and do something else. So, they are given all the tools. Everything is for education. Nothing is for distraction. They would never conceive of creating television as a distraction. Never. Everything is to help them evolve, and their science and their technology can be used for defensive purposes, mostly the holographic stuff. The most significant feature of the Andromedans is that they are instrumental in the Andromeda Council, which is a grouping of approximately 140 star systems who deliberate upon Earth. In a 1997 interview, Collier described the Council's deliberations as follows: now, in our galaxy there are many councils. I don't know everything about all those councils, but I do know about the Andromedan Council, which is a group of beings from 139 different star systems that come together and discuss what is going on in the galaxy. It is not a political body. What they have been recently discussing is the tyranny in our future, 357 years from now, because that affects everybody. Apparently what they have done, through time travel, is that they have been able to figure out where the significant shift in energy occurred that causes the tyranny 357 years in our future. They have traced it back to our solar system, and they have been able to further track it down to Earth, Earth's moon and Mars. Those three places. The very first meeting the Andromedan Council had was to decide whether or not to directly intervene with what was going on here. According to Morani, there were only 78 systems that met this first time. Of those 78, just short of half decided that they wanted nothing to do with us at all, regardless of the problems. I think it is really important that you know why they wanted nothing to do with us. We are talking about star systems that are hundreds of millions of light years away from us. Even some who have never met us. They just knew the vibration of the planet reflected those on it. The reasons why they wanted nothing to do with us is that from their perspective, Earth humans don't respect themselves, each other or the planet. What possibly can be the value of Earth humans? Fortunately, the majority of the Council gave the opinion that because Earth has been manipulated for over 5,700 years, that we deserved an opportunity to prove ourselves, to at least have a shot at proving the other part of the Council wrong. The Andromedans' chief activity appears to be facilitating decisions of the galactic community and dealing with difficult problems such as the current Earth situation. Innovative strategies for resolving conflict. Education of youth. The global solutions they promote include assisting the growth of psychic/crystal/rainbow children, peace education, exposing elite manipulation, promoting improved global governance, diplomacy and conflict resolution. Sirians from Sirius A. Now the next group of extraterrestrials are described as coming from Sirius, which is a binary star system that allegedly harbors advanced life around its two main stars, Sirius A and B. Sirius A is a blue-white star that is approximately 8.6 light-years from Earth, 20 times brighter than the Sun, and is the most brilliant star in the night sky. In contrast, Sirius B is a white dwarf sun that ranges between 8 to 32 astronomical units from Sirius A in a highly elliptical orbit. Amazingly, an African tribe called the Dogon has an intricate understanding of this elliptical orbit of Sirius B around Sirius A. This knowledge was apparently given to their ancestors by advanced extraterrestrials from the Sirius star system. The Dogon described the Sirians as amphibians from a planet around Sirius B, which is consistent with Collier's claim that one of the planets around Sirius B is generally occupied by reptilian and aquatic-type beings. Collier, however, describes the extraterrestrials from Sirius A as human. There's a race of beings on Sirius A. The humans there are called the Ceti. They are considered benevolent. Many of the human races there are red-skinned. Their ancestry is some of the first Lyrans that escaped with the women and children during the war. In their oceans they have whales, octopus and sharks. They are a race that is artistic. They have music and are connected to nature. They are builders and not very political. Their governments are based on spiritual technology, which uses sound and color. 96. If the Sirians were originally Lyrans escaping some cataclysmic interplanetary war, then it might well be understandable how they developed an interest in building, since the building of a new civilization on New World in the relative young star system of Sirius A would have been an urgent requirement. Collier refers to the Sirians using sound and color as a kind of spiritual technology which suggests that they specialize in terraforming planets and making them suitable for the evolution of life by altering the biomagnetic energy grid. The following telepathic communication provides more information on the Sirians as builders of new planetary structures in terms of altering the biomagnetic energy grid that assist the evolution of humans and other life forms. They are the original builders of your grid, the architecture on which your planet was based. So therefore they are useful in discerning the sacred geometry and discerning the physical laws of your home world. They can help you also in constructing the new grid, in constructing a new system that is appropriate for your next challenges. So we would say that the Sirians are excellent allies in the strategic design work that lies ahead. In conclusion, the main activity that can be attributed to those extraterrestrials from Sirius A is to assist in building a suitable ecological system for human evolution on Earth by altering the biomagnetic energy grid of the planet. Those from Sirius A can assist in global solutions such as environmental protection, promoting biodiversity, assist in consciousness raising, evolution of the biosphere. Ummites. The Ummites are described as extraterrestrials from the planet Ummo, which is claimed to be 14.6 light-years away, and possibly located in the star system Wolf 424. They played a significant role in disseminating scientific technical literature and objects through Spain, and then relayed to the rest of Europe in the 1960s and 1970s from a hidden base near a small town in the French province of Basses Alpes, Lower Alps. The Ummites contacted a select number of individuals and distributed to them detailed technical information on different technologies and revolutionary theories that would expand scientific knowledge beyond the prevailing orthodoxies. The only physical contact the Ummites had with anybody, aside from phone calls and sending technical information by regular mail, was with a hired typist who described how he worked for and eventually discovered the identities of the Ummites. Between 1967 and 1975 the members of the Madrid group, Spanish UFO researchers aware of the Ummites, received a letter from a man who claimed to be the Ummites typist. Apparently, he had advertised for work in a newspaper and had subsequently been visited by two tall, fair-haired respectable-dressed men. They told him that they were Danish doctors and asked if he could type out scientific material for them on a regular basis. Initially all went well, until the day he read the following sentence: "We come from a celestial body named Ummo, which is 14.6 light-years from the Earth." He took this at its face value and questioned the doctors. Eventually they admitted that they were not Danish doctors at all, but extraterrestrial visitors. To prove their identity they produced a tiny sphere just an inch or so in diameter, which one of them placed in midair before the typist. He looked into it and to his amazement saw a scene that had taken place in that same office on the preceding day when his wife, fearing that the Danish doctors might be spies. There was however a well-recorded public event in the form of an Umma spacecraft that landed near Madrid on June 10, 1967 that was announced by the Ummites several days before to a select group of UFO researchers. The Ummit's approach appears to be one of helping scientists develop innovative technologies and theories that assist in addressing global problems that require technical solutions. In 1973, due to the uncertainty over a nuclear war on Earth, the Ummites terminated their residence on Earth and departed. They subsequently sent the following message in 1980 to Dr. Antonio Ribera, one of the Spanish UFO researchers that had taken up their case. For 30 years we have studied your science, your culture, history and civilizations. All this information we have carried from your Earth to Ummite in our titanium crystals codified with data. We have demonstrated to you our culture and our technology in purely descriptive form, so you cannot convert them or realize them practically. We have done this because we note with sadness that you employ your sciences primarily for war and the destruction of your own selves, which continue as your principal objective. You are like children playing with terrible and dangerous toys which will destroy you. We can do nothing. A cosmic law says that each world must take its own path, to survive or to perish. You have chosen the second. You are destroying your planet, annihilating your species, and contaminating your atmosphere and your seas until now this is irreversible. With sadness we contemplate your insanity, and understand that the remedy is only in yourselves. We cannot look forward a great distance into your future because your psyche are completely unpredictable and capricious bordering on paranoia. As your elder brothers in this cosmos, we urgently desire with all our hearts your salvation. Do not destroy your beautiful blue planet, a rare atmospheric world that floats so majestically in space, so full of life. IT is your choice. While it cannot be known exactly how influential the Ummite's assistance has been since it was largely covert, it certainly appears to have been significant in sparking innovative scientific initiatives by a range of technically competent professionals and private citizens. It can be concluded that the Ummite's main activity lies in sharing technical information, transforming scientific culture, global education. The Ummites can assist in global solutions surrounding the transformation of scientific paradigms, development of environmentally friendly technologies, educational reform. Alpha Centaurians, another extraterrestrial race that appears to be playing a significant role in human affairs, is from the Alpha Centauri star system. Alex Collier claims the Alpha Centaurians are one of the races visiting the Earth. An alleged former employee of the government out in Philadelphia projects, Al Billick, discussed a number of extraterrestrials including the Alpha Centaurians. Billick's testimony is perhaps one of the most bizarre and controversial cases in UFO research, yet his testimony is coherent and consistent, and according to an independent investigator, John Quinn, Billick is very credible and there is much evidence to support his claims. The Alpha Centaurians, according to Billick, apparently provide a form of sanctuary and protection to humans that desire assistance in dealing with the repressive policies of the shadow government. Billick stated the nature of this agreement with the Alpha Centaurians in an interview. Al Billick, there are shuttles regularly from this planet to Alpha Centauri, for which by agreement is a safe haven for people wanted by the United States government. There's a treaty. It takes about 12 hours to get them. Apparently they took all of their family, which meant sisters, brothers, father, mother, whatever, with them. As far as I know they were still there. Questioner, who runs the shuttle? Presumably the Alpha Centauri government, but I don't know. But it's on a regular basis twice a week. The landing point, I have no idea where it is. Of course they guard it secret. What is their body form like? Alpha Centauri? Like humans, exactly the same. There's a much lower population on their planet. They were not overpopulated. They were an advanced civilization, a little ahead of us, not a great deal, but somewhat ahead of us. They don't like things like government head bashing and that sort of thing, and the way they treat some of the government agents they no longer have any use for or whatever, if they are approached, and I don't know how it's done. If they are approached and ask for asylum, if they issue the card, you just get on the shuttle and that's it, you're there. Beyond that I don't know. I haven't seen them since. This role of providing sanctuary to humans threatened by the shadow government indicates that the Alpha Centaurians are very interested in social justice and helping in the transition of Earth towards a more trusting and nurturing global society. This is a theme elaborated upon in the following telepathic communication from an independent source. Those from Alpha Centaurus have an open society, a trusting and loving one, so they would be useful to you as you begin to design the social rules for an alternative to a combative or competitive social structure. The main activity of the Alpha Centaurians can therefore be inferred as promoting social justice and human freedom. The global solutions that can be promoted by the Alpha Centaurians include social justice at a global level, creating zones of peace or peace sanctuaries, human rights, Arcturians. The final extraterrestrial race to be examined due to their significance are the Arcturians, who are described as once having seeded the Earth with their members and presumably peacefully coexisted with other races. According to Andrews, in antiquity this planet was divided into sectors among 4 different groups: blondes, greys, large lizard-like beings from the Capella system, and beings from the Arcturus system. Andrews goes on to describe the Arcturians as currently playing an observer role in the current battle between extraterrestrial groups over Earth and her population. Collier describes the Arcturians as also being one of the races interacting with the Earth and that they are trying to help. Most information on the Arcturians comes from those claiming to have telepathically communicated with them. For example, Dr. Norma Milanovic in her book, We, the Arcturians, describes her communication with the Arcturians through a form of computer-aided automatic writing. She claims the Arcturians are here to assist Earth as it enters a new age of spirituality. They cannot interfere with the free will or decision-making process of any Earthling, but are here to educate and help raise the vibrations of all who choose to journey to the new dimension the Earth is entering. The Arcturians are described as having a highly developed spiritual culture and technological sophistication that gives them great influence in the galaxy. Another individual who telepathically communicates with the Arcturians claims they have the following mission on Earth. The Arcturians are the overall guides or administrators of the contact experience. They have a desire generally to see this go well, to see you learn as much as possible by this process and to assist you in any way they can. However, their affinity is to the future of the planet as a whole, and they tend to have a hands-off approach as much as possible. They will tend to do the least amount of work for the greatest effect. You'll find them to be efficient and quite creative in this. They may be useful to you in learning how to play, how to wait for the right timing, and how to do the very few important things that you must do to succeed. The Arcturians' main activity therefore appears to be one of integrating spiritual values with advanced technologies, providing strategic advice and transforming planetary systems. The global solutions the Arcturians contribute to include transparent and accountable global governance, integrating global financial, political and societal systems, helping humanity coordinate effectively with all extraterrestrial races, diplomacy and conflict resolution. Summary Table 2. In conclusion, the main activities of the Arcturians and other extraterrestrial races that lie outside of the military-industrial extraterrestrial complex can be summarized as follows in Table 2. ET races. Main activities: assist in global solutions. Telosians, Earth, helping surface humanity learn of its ancient Earth history, restore human longevity, changing unhealthy belief systems, and protecting the environment. Middle. Environmental protection. Middle. Promoting biodiversity. Middle. Human health and longevity. Middle. Recovery of humanity's history. Lyrans, Lyra, disseminating the unique history of the human race in the galaxy, and assisting in the understanding human motivations and potentials. Middle. Recovery of humanity's history. Middle. Understanding galactic history. Middle. Discovery of the human essence. Middle. Diplomacy and conflict resolution. Middle. Global education. Pleiades, helping humanity find freedom from oppressive structures through consciousness raising. Middle. Universal human rights. Middle. Participatory democratic systems. Middle. Evolution of human consciousness. Middle. Global education. Procyon, promoting effective resistance to extraterrestrial subversion, developing multidimensional consciousness, using mental imagery to prevent ET mind control, monitoring unfriendly ET activity. Middle. Exposing ET subversion. Middle. Ending global secrecy of ETs. Middle. Multidimensional consciousness. Middle. Deprogramming mind control. Middle. Universal human rights. Middle. Internet and global communication. Tau sessions, Ceti, exposing ET subversion and control, identifying corrupt elites and institutions, uplifting human consciousness, negating ET mind control, and dealing with militarism. Middle. Exposing government/financial corruption and elite manipulation. Middle. Monitoring ET infiltration. Middle. Multidimensional consciousness. Middle. Deprogramming mind control. Middle. Conflict resolution. Andromedans, Andromeda, facilitating decisions of the galactic community and dealing with the current Earth situation, innovative strategies for resolving conflict, Ampersand the education of youth. Middle dot education of psychic/crystal kids. Middle dot peace education. Middle dot exposing elite manipulation. Middle dot improved global governance. Middle dot diplomacy and conflict resolution. Sirians, Sirius A. Assisting in building a suitable ecological system for human evolution on Earth by altering the biomagnetic energy grid of the planet. Middle dot environmental protection. Middle dot promoting biodiversity. Middle dot raising human consciousness. Middle dot evolution of the biosphere. Ummites, Ummo. Sharing technical information, transforming scientific culture, and global education. Middle dot transforming scientific paradigms. Middle dot developing alternative technologies. Middle dot educational reform. Alpha Centaurians, Alpha Centauri. Promoting social justice and human freedom. Middle dot social justice at a global level. Middle dot zones of peace. Middle dot human rights. Arcturians, Arcturus, integrating spiritual values with advanced technologies, and in providing strategic advice and transforming planetary systems. Middle dot global governance. Middle dot integrating global financial, political and societal systems. Middle dot coordinating